I stand before you as herald of the change. By the grace of Shaddam IV of House Corino, ascendant to the golden lion throne of Padisha, Emperor of the known universe, we're witnessed by members of the Imperial Court, representatives of the Spacing Guild, and a sister of the Bene Gesserit. The Emperor has spoken.
Stellaris Developer Diary 249 is out, and we have another meaty Dev Diary. This one is filled with information on the 3 new enclaves coming with Overlord. We're also getting a deep dive into the specialist type of vassal Bulwark. And if that isn't enough, we've also got more Overlord holdings to show off today. And finally, some information on the origin Imperial fiefdom, one of the 5 new origins coming with Stellaris Overlord. So let's dive in and find out what is going on. First up, we have information on the 3 new enclaves. We've already seen some artwork that gave us some clues, but now we have firm details to tell us what on earth is going on. This first piece of artwork that I thought could have something to do with transportation, well, it turns out I was completely wrong there. This is the Industrious salvagers. The salvagers are a friendly and pacifist bunch of scrappers and mechanics. They focus on engineering, and these tinkerers love nothing more than scrapping old ships, refurbishing them, and selling them on to new owners. And we've got something that I think is very interesting here, and this is the diplomatic screen when we talk to this enclave. As you'll see, we have a species portrait here that we have not seen before. This looks like a mixture between a dwarf and kind of a furry raccoon thing. And then we've got some weird mouth appendages on either side as well. But needless to say, possibly this could mean we are getting some new species portraits coming with this new expansion, this new DLC. I don't know, we'll simply have to wait and see. If we look at this screen though, in the beginning when you first contact them, when you have 0 opinion with them, the only 2 options you'll have are to scrap a fleet. That means you will, I assume, delete one of your fleets basically and get some resources in return, which is, I would assume, better than downgrading that fleet to be completely empty. You can take an empty fleet and sell that on for even more resources. And of course, buying reclaimed vessels means we might be able to get our hands on, or I assume we'll be able to get our hands on, nice ships at a good price. And when our trust with them goes up, we get some better options. There is the salvage works building. Well, we don't really know what that does yet, but I'm sure that people can probably have some ideas about that in the comments below. Let me know if you've got any ideas. They can aid us with our construction efforts. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that is helping us with our, when we're building our mega structures, they may be able to help us there. That would boost or reduce the amount of time it takes to complete certain mega structures, possibly. They could help us with salvaging debris. So after a battle, of course, when you have participated and won a battle, you get your hands on debris from the enemy ships, and that can unlock technology options and give you some research points, which is very nice. Maybe they can boost that. And finally, they can somehow flat out help us with our engineering research. Overall, this does seem quite an interesting addition to the game. This looks like basically it's going to give us some nice ways of being able to do things we couldn't otherwise do. For instance, get alloys back if we want to scrap and get rid of some of our fleets. And also buying vessels without having to go to the Caravaneers and buy one of those silly Caravaneer cruisers. The next enclave is based on this artwork. This is the artwork we've seen so far. Now, I predicted this is something psionic based, or at least religious based or spiritualist based, and it wasn't a difficult guess. This is the mysterious Shroud Walkers, a monastic enclave that delves into the deepest mysteries of the Shroud, seeking to understand the unknowable. Their true nature and desires are difficult to divine. Let's take a look at their Diplo screen, and basically, yes, this is a psionic enclave. If you've read the Dune novels or possibly seen the new movie, you would not be too unfamiliar with the Bene Gesserit here. And the Bene Gesserit, the Shroud-touched Coven, they are going to be helping you with a number of things, providing some interesting bonuses to your Empire. For instance, they can send a Bene Gesserit emissary, or in this case a teacher, to your planets, which can help guide and enlighten your civilization. That does sound very, very similar to one of the origins we're going to be getting, the Teachers of the Shroud, but there's no new information on that yet, so we will just have to wait and see what's happening with the Teachers of the Shroud origin. And if you're enjoying this video, please advise that like button. So Shroud Walker Teacher seems to be a planetary modifier. It will give you plus 5% amenities, plus 10% unity from jobs, and plus 3 unity from telepaths. So if you are psionic, having a Shroud Walker Teacher walk amongst your people is definitely more beneficial than if you're a regular Empire. But even for regular Empires, plus 5% amenities and plus 10% unity from jobs is nothing to sniff at. And just as they are willing to look into the possibilities of your future, they are very willing to gaze into the Shroud and provide insights about other empires. As we can see from this finisher effect, the Shroud Touched Coven will return with an update on what they have gleaned from the Shroud. I assume this is something espionage based, though maybe it's something else. I'm thinking this will allow you to get more intel on another empire, though of course that might be a bit wrong. If you are feeling very adventurous, we have another form of transportation available to you if you are in good terms or on good terms with the Shroud Touched Coven. The Bene Gesserit will be able to open a breach in space-time and basically allow your ships to pass through the Shroud to their system wherever it is in the galaxy. You will have to pay some amount of energy, it seems like here, and then on one of your star bases you can construct a single Shroud beacon. This will allow you to create a wormhole-like bypass from one of our systems directly to the system of the Shroud Touched Coven. In essence though, this enclave is very, very story driven. The new mechanics we're going to be getting with the situations, that is what this enclave is going to rely on heavily when you ask for prophecies, premonitions, all of that sort of thing from the Bene Gesserit. There'll be entire paths and kind of quests in essence to go down and fulfill, and that sounds really awesome. You know, in a lot of ways, this is shaping up to be the Dune expansion. The final enclave is quite a bit different to the other two, and I think is going to have a very, very big impact on the way the game is played, or at least it could have a very big impact. So what is it? Welcome and say hello to the Mercenary Enclave. Now these Mercenary Enclaves are not found in the depths of space. Instead, they are founded, I'm going to say that again, they are founded by regular empires that are not fanatic purifiers. You can't be Gestalt conscious, you cannot be fanatic purifier, your fleet has to have an admiral, it must be of size greater than 50, you have to be in a system under your own control, there cannot be another enclave there, and the system must have an asteroid or moon. Then you can click a button and convert one of your fleets into a mercenary enclave. When you do found a mercenary enclave, you will have to pay them some startup fees, that is energy credits, influence and alloys, but it does seem to be rather small. At the moment it's looking like 1500 energy credits, along with a small amount of influence and a small number of alloys, and that's kind of the setup cost and investment you have to put in. You will also need to have military enclave capacity. By default, that starts at 0, but there are some ways of raising it. In addition to the normal effects, the warrior culture, barbaric despoilers, and private military company civics each add 1 potential military enclave, whilst the naval contractors civic will add a whopping 2. Now, when you set up, you'll get a lovely station like this one that you can see here, and this will then be a mercenary enclave. But there can be many, many mercenary enclaves across the galaxy and even across your own empire. There is also a new Ascension perk focused on this. Now, we have actually seen the artwork for this before. It was shown in a previous image kind of in the background, and that was picked up and we didn't know what it was, but now we do. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to one of the newest Ascension perks in the Stellaris game, and that is Lords of War. Some say war is bad for business, but war is our business. Our mercenaries thrive in an embattled galaxy, and through them, so shall we. mercenary enclave capacity +1, diplomatic weight from fleet power +25%, mercenary enclaves under our patronage pay more frequent dividends. Now, you did hear me right there. I said pay more frequent dividends. And that's because if you set up a mercenary enclave in your space, they will be under your patronage, and as a patron, you will be receiving dividend payments from them. Think of them as a spin-off company, if you're a megacorp, from your main corporation, from your mother corporation. So a newly formed mercenary enclave has a few options for those interested in procuring their security services. The empire that controls the primary starbase of the mercenary enclave system is considered their patron, as I mentioned, and has additional interactions with them. So you get bonus special things you can do if you're their patron. Otherwise, everyone else gets to do the regular things. And what are they? Well, you can rent a fleet, you can hire ground troops. They also offer logistical solutions, so I assume that means they will increase your naval capacity for a certain fee, and you can hire them to set up something called a mercenary garrison. So anyone with communications with this enclave can hire the fleet for a period of up to 10 years. To do that, you will only have to pay an energy cost, and the price will vary depending on your relation with the mercenaries and whether or not you are their patron. So that means patrons are going to get a discount on their services. Very, very tasty indeed. And as you can see here from this screen, they are currently offering a mercenary fleet with 20,000 fleet power. I don't know exactly when it is in the game, but if it's not that late in the game, this could be very valuable for only 16,000 energy. To get 20,000 fleet at your disposal could be the difference between victory and defeat if you're already over your naval cap and you're really struggling economically with such a large navy that you have. Getting a few mercenary fleets which don't count towards your naval cap, that could be really, really useful. As time goes on, these mercenaries will research technologies, reinforce and build up their fleet further than what you initially created them as, but their patron can also reach out and provide a helping appendage or a helping hand. This can take the form of either helping them to build a bigger fleet or sharing some of your technology with the mercenaries. If they have an excellent relationship with the mercenaries, a patron can even ask them to break an active contract. That means that if you hire mercenaries and another empire is their patron, and you try to use those mercenaries to attack the patron, don't be surprised if suddenly those mercenaries are no longer under your control. But if you force a mercenary company to cancel a contract, it will cost you some energy credits, cost you money and influence, and it will also upset the mercenaries because in this business, reputation is everything. Now, of course, it wouldn't be Stellaris if the galactic community wasn't trying to stick their noses in and muddy the water. So, along with this new mercenary enclave, there is also a whole series of resolutions. The new category is defense privatization, and yes, that is basically what it sounds like.
I have successfully privatized world peace.
This line of resolutions and regulations focuses on encouraging the empires of the galactic community to leave all of the fighting to the professionals. For a safer and more civilized galaxy, we should only have commercial entities able to conduct the business of warfare. It allows empires to create more mercenary enclaves across the entire galaxy and increases the rate that mercenary dividends are paid out, whilst placing significant limits on non-mercenary navies. At the first level, every mercenary enclave gains plus 10 naval cap and mercenary dividends become more frequent. That's a positive so far. Trade value goes up by 5%. That's great for trade-based empires. And mercenary enclave capacity goes up by plus 1. But naval cap goes down for everyone by 10%. and we're only at the first level. It's also important to note that Gestalt empires cannot create mercenary enclaves, so basically this is a way for the biological empires in the galaxy to limit the military power of all empires, including Gestalts, whilst the regular bio-empires, are going to be getting severely great economic benefits, I have to assume, from the new mercenary enclaves, while the Gestalt empires simply won't have anything like that. This could lead to some serious upsets, some serious ructions in the galactic community. As we increase in level, all of those benefits or disadvantages become more pronounced. At level 3, being at war without hiring mercenaries is a banned thing. That is an offense. You'll be in breach of galactic law. At level 4, we get a plus 20% diplomatic weight whilst a mercenary fleet is hired. And at this point, we're getting some serious negatives to naval cap, minus 60%. At the final level, it is an offense not only to go to war without having a hired mercenary fleet, but generally you must have hired mercenaries from somewhere in the galaxy. Meaning that if you pass this to the full and then make sure to get all of the mercenaries on your side, hire them from as many enclaves as possible, you're going to force a lot of empires to be in breach of galactic law. Corporate peacekeeping also gives a minus 80% to naval capacity. I mean, this is a reason to leave the diplomatic community. This is a very good reason to leave. If the diplomatic community is pursuing this and you really don't want to, if you're not going to become, for instance, become the custodian so you can get your hands on the GDF, which is a nice 400 naval cap fleet, or also possibly have a Federation, though that will be impacted by this reduced naval capacity. Federation naval capacities are of course based on the regular naval capacities of your empires. But wow, this series of resolutions, definitely a bit of a curveball here and something we have not seen before, but I'm very much looking forward to what kind of impact this may have on the game. They've also teased us by telling us there are more galactic community resolutions coming with the new Stellaris Overlords, and if you have any ideas what those might be, please comment down in the comments below. I would love to hear, because I have no idea what else. I wasn't expecting this. This has really taken me by surprise, and I absolutely love the galactic community. I love the bickering, I love the legal stuff, I love the diplomatic weight, and honestly, that's one of my favorite parts. I'm a big fan of the Federation's DLC, and of course, the extra bits we got with Nemesis. So getting more of this, definitely that's a plus in my book. Thank you very much, Stellaris Dev Team. And if you're enjoying this video and other videos on this channel, you can help to support this channel by either becoming a channel member, supporting this channel through Patreon, or purchasing something on the Humble Bundle store. Links to all of these are down in the description below. Until April the 12th, you can get EU4, another Paradox Grand Strategy game, for as little as €1, or you can get the game along with all of the DLC for under €20 on the Humble Bundle store until April the 12th. Wow, so that was the 3 new enclaves, and now we get to finding out about the specialist vassal type Bulwark. So the Bulwark, or Bulwark, however you want to pronounce it, is standing firm against the Overlord's enemies, the second of the specialists. Here we see the Tebran citizen regime, which serves our glorious republic as a bulwark. Now, we already understand quite a lot of this screen now. We have the XP and the different levels with different bonuses. We saw that with the Prospectorium on the left, and on the right we see loyalty going up and down, doing its thing. What are the base bonuses of a Bulwark, I hear you ask? Well, in essence, it's massively defensive. They are getting massive bonuses to their defense platforms, star-based damage, and star-based hull points. At the basic level, it's plus 50% damage and hull points to defense platforms and star bases, and that's only at tier 1. As we go up to tier 2 and tier 3, we will go up to 100% damage output from our defense platforms, plus 75 from star bases, and also extra hull points apiece. We're also getting more defense platform cap, massive reduction to defense platform build cost. I'm pretty sure if we combine this with some of our ship build cost modifiers, this basically means you're either going to get free defense platforms or possibly you're going to get paid alloys for defense platforms. I hope that's been looked at, because I can see some combinations here which could be really quite weird, brutal, and crazy. Maybe it's multiplicative rather than additive, though usually these kind of modifiers have always been additive. On the flip side, you're getting some real pain with regard to your monthly energy credit, monthly minerals, and monthly food. And this means you are going to be relying on subsidies from your Overlord in order to support your basic economy. They've also got a crazy little line here, which I'll just read out. We've made some adjustments to defense platforms. While everyone will benefit from their faster build speed and increased range, fire rate tracking, and hull points, Bulwarks receive additional bonuses when using them. Now, this could mean we're getting a bit of a rework to the way defense platforms and star bases work, and I suspect this means the power level of defense platforms and star bases is going up somewhat. And based on that, I think it will now be time, when we get the new update out, to test the effectiveness of defense platforms against the other ship types. That is your corvettes, destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. So if you'd like to see me do a testing video on that, or possibly even a whole series, let me know down in the comments below. If there's enough interest and enthusiasm, I will of course oblige. The Bulwark Advisor, or Katana Dolphin, this now gives you, as the Overlord, minus 20% star base upgrade cost and plus 20% star base upgrade speed. In addition, with other modifiers, this could really reduce the cost and increase the speed of upgrading your star bases. That could be very cool and very powerful, specifically in the early to mid game. The Bulwark Watch perk is another hyper relay network effect, so they're not going to tell us what that is just yet, but we are getting, as we've already seen from this dev diary, one new form of FTL transport that's basically kind of like the wormholes we've got, but now we can choose where to put a wormhole during the game. And we're also getting the relay network. We don't know what that does yet, but it is very exciting. Fighting in a Bulwark system is very advantageous to any friendly ships. They're going to get a plus 100% shield points from this perk in the first tier of their level. So basically, as I see it so far, Bulwark is shaping up to be something like a march from EU4. They're not meant to be used in an aggressive way. They're very much so that you can put kind of a blocker on one part of your empire, or have another empire close to yours as a blocker for other empires that may wish to attack you. This space is going to be very hard to get through. It's going to be a real slog. Just like the Prospectorium, Bulwarks will also gain access to some technologies, this time almost exclusively for defense. Tier 1, they're going to get FTL inhibition, Starhold, and planetary shields. Tier 2, they'll get the option for modular engineering and Star Fortress, and with Tier 3, they'll be able to build up to a citadel. Just like the Prospectorium, at Tier 2, the Bulwark also adds additional special traits to some of their leaders. In this case, it's admirals. Now, I'm very excited to look through these, and what have we got? Well, the first one, and I have to mention first, these all are only working in friendly systems, so these are all very much defensive focused, or at least you have to be on the back foot in order to use them. But first level, you're getting plus 15% evasion and tracking in friendly systems. That's the Watcher. The Retaliator is giving you plus 30% fire rate, and the Sentinel gives you plus 30% shield hit points. The Retaliator looks like it's the best tier, though obviously Bulwark Watcher may be very useful with some high evasion destroyers. But overall, I don't think these are as powerful as the traits we get from Prospectorium, as these are more limited in their use. They're slightly more niche because it is only friendly systems. You can't use them to go on the aggressive. Of course, just like Prospectorium, they can trade these leaders with their Overlord, so as the Overlord you can get your hands on some leaders with Bulwark traits. At Tier 3, the Bulwark can create an improved variant of the construction ship. This will repair other friendly ships in the system, and they are a bit sturdier than regular construction vessels. All friendly ships in the system get plus 2% daily hull regen, ship hull points plus 50%, and armor hit points plus 50%. This is very big. I don't know if this is stackable. If you have multiple of these Bulwark battle rights, you can stack these effects. But if you're able to stack the daily hull regen along with the regen Titan, the regen Admiral, and of course the Amoeba regenerative hull plating, that means you could end up with some daily hull regen somewhere in the region of 7 or 8%. That would be absolutely phenomenal. That means you'd basically have ships that every, what would that be? Yes, every 12 to 13 days would fully repair themselves. That sounds nigh unkillable if you ask me, unless you come in armed with massively powerful late game weapons like neutron launchers or your X-slot weapons, mega cannons, that sort of thing. But in the mid game, if you could stack those bonuses, wow, yeah, this could be very, very crazy. And also, when you get to Tier 3, the Tier 1 Shield Magnifiers gets an additional effect. Hostile ships in own systems, daily hull regen minus 0.3%, and with Unyielding this goes up to 0.5%. This, I think, basically means that you can cause attrition to enemy fleets, meaning the longer they are in the space, in the Bulwark space, they are going to be dying with 0.5%. That means they've only got 200 days, after which they have completely decayed to nothing and been destroyed. A 0.3%, it's slightly longer at 330 days, but still, if this is active, active sapping, active sabotage, whatever you want to call it, like the EU4 effect where you get active attrition from the defensive ideas, wow, this could be really, really, really unpleasant to have to fight your way through. If you can surround your space with bulwarks, you may be pretty untouchable in the late game. Now let's dive in and find out what are the new holdings we're going to be getting. We have access to more of that information. So first up we have the Emporium, which forces the subject to buy consumer goods from the Overlord. In essence, this acts like a holo theater. It provides 20 amenities, but it costs 14 energy. You get Overlord trader jobs, and they convert energy credits, which are paid directly to the Overlord, I want to add, into amenities. A nice little building, doesn't really change things up too much here, but quite interesting nonetheless. It does, however, have an upkeep of consumer goods, so that means as an Overlord, the net benefit here isn't that high, I don't think. You're only really making 2 or 3 energy credits unless you have a massive glut of extra consumer goods, but if you do, you should probably retool those factories to produce alloys instead. There are more holdings that exist which will directly tax subject production. We saw a ministry earlier, a few dev diaries back, that taxed minerals and alloys. Now we can see the Ministry of Production. That will tax food and consumer goods from the subject at a cost. At the moment it looks like -3 food, -3 consumer goods per artisan and per farmer, and the Overlord gains slightly more than that at +4 food and +4 consumer goods. So throwing down a ministry on a key agricultural or key consumer good world of a vassal or of a subject will enable the Overlord to possibly not even have to make any food or any consumer goods. That could be very, very nice. The Ministry of Energy does somewhat the same, except in this case, we are reducing energy credit production on the subject and getting energy credits for the Overlord. These all seem rather nice if you can put them on specialized planets. And now that we've had some AI updates and AI reworks where the AI will actually properly specialize their planets, in single player, these could be really very, very useful and very, very nice. Though I do have to wonder if these production and deficits here are after we work out the energy production, so after modifiers have been taken into account, or before. Because if it's after, that's really good for the subject, And if it's before, well, that's quite bad for the subject and not that great for the Overlord, who may instead be better off with a better subsidies or tribute agreement with their subject. Because, of course, a subject will be getting, when you produce, say, 4 energy credits from the job, you're going to be getting big modifiers to that from technology, from planetary specialization. So I wonder if the 4 energy credits here also benefits from technology and specialization, or if the -3 doesn't have that issue. We will have to find out. Maybe I'll tweet about it, maybe somebody will answer that question. Constructive, and that I assume means helpful overlords, can build up a world using the orbital assembly complex and a small fleet of construction ships. This gives planetary build speed plus 10%, and every Overlord construction ship in orbit gives an additional 10% planetary build speed and produces 3 alloys for the Overlord, up to a maximum of 40% planetary build speed and 9 alloys. A bit weird here, so 4 ships is 40% build speed and 9 alloys, but it looks like 3 ships is 30% build speed and still 9 alloys. Of course, these numbers are subject to change, but it does seem a little odd if it works where the last or the 4th construction ship only increases build speed and not alloy production for the Overlord. Reanimators can bring out the dead to defend a subject's world.
Bring out your dead!
This Dread outpost functions pretty much the same as a regular one on a regular Empire. However, the research production only goes to the Overlord, while of course all of the upkeep stays with the subject. Megacorps with the permanent employment civic will definitely ensure that nobody is just lying around and lazily not working, even if they're dead. This means you get the reemployment center, and Overlord reassigners provide the subject with zombie pops at an upkeep of some minerals. So it seems like we're going to take minerals and shove them into the dead and get them working again. How delightful. Megacorps with the franchising civic can choose to exert more direct control and micromanage subject planets where they have a branch office, much to the dismay of workers there. So I'm not entirely sure if this is an Overlord build, an Overlord holding specifically, or it's a building you can place down simply by having the franchising civic and also having a branch office, but we'll have to see. So franchising headquarters, Overlord manager jobs +2, lots and lots of xenophile ethics attraction. The managers turn consumer goods into unity and trade value for the subject, and they produce a small amount of unity for the Overlord. And clerks produce -1 trade value, that is all the clerks on the planet. And they additionally, instead of that -1 trade value, they now output 0.25 unity directly for the Overlord. It's important to know as well that the ethic attraction on that previous holding will change to match any fanatic ethic the Overlord may have. So that clears up my previous musing. Yes, indeed, this building is a holding and not just a regular corporate building you can build if you have a branch office. And also, if let's say you're not fanatic xenophile, let's say you're fanatic militarist, well, that will be adding militarist attraction on this planet. That can enable you to change and alter the ethics of your subject empires, something we've heard can be very useful for contract renegotiations. A few days ago, Paradox released information on the Imperial fiefdom origin, and they've got some more information here about it. So basically, here is the origin. You start as the vassal of an advanced AI empire and gain the option to choose a specialist empire vassal type at the start of the game. That is a Prospectorium, a Bulwark, or a Scholarium. Depending on which of those you start as, you will get some additional benefits. As a Bulwark, you'll start with Destroyer's technology already researched, that's very powerful, and 5 beautiful destroyers ready to go, meaning that you could have some fantastic military power as early as 2210 or 2215 with a whole fleet of destroyers ready to jump into the fight. Scholariums will start with an additional science ship and some other science-based bonuses, and Prospectoriums will get access to the ability to generate the extra random resource deposits across their empire. But basically, this is very much a roleplay origin, I would think, and quite a fun one at that. It is good to know that if multiple players select this origin, they will all start as minions of the same advanced AI empire. The roleplay potential there is massive, so wow, that's pretty darn cool. There are lots of new pointers in this dev diary to new ways to get to psionic ascension, be that through the Enclave here, or possibly something to do with the new origin we might see in the next few weeks. But is the psionic ascension path really worth taking? Isn't it the weakest path around? If you'd like to know if it is the weakest path around, click the video on screen now.